So I know I'm late to this conversation about Ja Morant. It was posted a couple days ago. We all found out after the NBA Finals what's the suspension, what's the punishment for Ja Morant after another instance of waving a gun around on video. It was 25 games, which many people, even before that, I saw posts that it could have been the full season, could have been 40 plus games. I think the CBA had to do something with it because there was a certain limit they can go up to with that, if I have that right. But even then, it's once again another weak attempt to actually solve the issue with Ja Morant. In this instance, before I get to that, kind of quickly give the laughable part of the second page right here, talking about the NBPA executive director. This is the laughable part about this. Just like the first few words in this paragraph. Ja has expressed his remorse and accepted responsibility for his actions, and that's basically all you really need to know about that. Because before this instance, he apologized for the last problem, and once again he kind of contradicted that and went back to the same problem that he apologized before that, and here we are. But once again, like I was just saying a second ago, it's another weak attempt to actually solve the problem. It's just to kind of pander to the audience that people actually want to see Ja Morant get punished, and it's just that. It's just, like I said, it's a weak attempt to do it because they honestly don't want to help Ja Morant. I don't believe Adam Silver. I don't believe any of the team or any of them saying they want to help Ja. They care about him. No, they don't, because having to give a long suspension means they have to actually care about the player more than the brand. And that's what the NBA has once again shown you, and many of the other sports across the country has shown you that they are not willing to put the player first than the organization, or the organization or the league, and actually helping him. And that's the case for this one. They did not suspend Ja Morant for the whole season or even double what he got because it ruins the revenue. It ruins the money for the team and the league. The longer suspension is, it actually hurts the NBA and not Ja Morant. I think regardless, I don't think it really would affect Ja Morant unless you gave him a full season where he loses all his money. And we kind of look at the Spot Trek where they have him for his cap hit. He's at $33.5 million for the season. Now, of course, he's going to be losing a decent chunk of it with the 25 games, but it's still not enough for the countless times that Ja Morant has acted out and allegations of waving his gun around, threatening someone, kind of harassing people, and so forth throughout basically this whole, like, if we want to say, like, year and a half, 2 years of instances in his past and what he continues to do. And this, once again, it's just another bad attempt of the NBA trying to make themselves look good, especially when Adam Silver kind of before the finals and throughout the finals went around and in different places, visiting different places and talked about it, and it looked like he actually wanted to do something. He actually wanted to really give him a harsh punishment, and 25 games is what we got. And this is not surprising because, once again, if you actually care about him, you have to put the player first before the brand, and that's not what the NBA wants to do. Perfect example of this is if we shift to the NFL. Last offseason, we had the Deshaun Watson case where, of course, 2020 was his final year playing. He decided to sit out, and then we had the boatload of allegations of sexual assault from different masseuses, 20 plus. I think total was 27, I believe. We had the whole process of that, trying to figure out if he was going to get suspended or not, how long it was going to be. Didn't help that even with all his allegations, he got a fully guaranteed contract at $230 million by the Cleveland Browns, and it made it a lot tougher to the whole situation. Ultimately, kind of leading up to it, people thought that he was going to get a full year suspension. That's what they were trying to push. But ultimately, we got a 11-game suspension, which many people were upset with, that he didn't get a full year for the countless allegations that he received of sexual assault and inappropriate actions from him. And we kind of have a similar situation with Ja Morant. His talents outweigh the problem, similar to Deshaun Watson. Ja Morant is one of the bright futures as a player in the NBA and one of the future faces of the league. with many superstars getting up there in age and retiring very soon, like Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and so forth, where in 5 years from now, they might not be in the NBA anymore. So, of course, you need to bring along the young stardom, this young talent that's going to be replacing them and be the new faces. And, of course, Ja Morant is certainly have the talent to become a superstar if he isn't one already in people's eyes, and certainly can easily become one of the best players in the NBA and one of the top faces in the NBA. And this is why they didn't give him a tough suspension, because why would you? Why would you hurt your product and purposely set out one of your best players, your best revenue makers, to do that? And the NBA has shown you, like I said, the NFL and countless other leagues have shown you that they care about the money more than the player. I don't buy into the fact that the team, the Grizzlies, and the NBA truly care about actually helping Ja Morant out. It's just a nice PR move to sound good. And it's unfortunate. Even through this, I mean, sure, we can blame Ja Morant for all of the instances he puts himself through, waving the gun around and so forth. Obviously, you have to blame him. He's the only one doing it. No one else is telling him to. But I'm going to take a different route. I'm not going to blame Ja Morant for his actions. I'm going to blame the team and the NBA for allowing him to continue these actions, because they do nothing to actually solve the problem. And once again, it circles back to actually caring about Ja Morant. I don't think once again the team or the league actually cares about what happens to Ja. The team has done nothing to actually help it. They haven't, called him out on it. They haven't truly given up a punishment. So if you haven't done that, it tells me you tolerate it and you're okay with what he's doing. So as long as he's being the top player in the league, he's being the top player on your team, you don't care. Another situation going back to NFL, Antonio Brown. His antics were, just crazy at times of how he acted. Very bipolar at times, but once again, he was one of the top wide receivers in the league, and you dealt with that because his production outweighed the antics. Ultimately, once his production, while his production was doing well, his antics kind of overcame that or overpowered that, and he got cut. But he blasted probably a lot more than he should have, solely because of his talents, how far his talents took him. And this is the same situation we have with Ja Morant. And the sad lesson you could take away from this, not just sports, but just in society in general, is so long as you're good in your field, I should say good, as long as you're great, amazing at your field, people will tolerate your antics. And right here, once again, through countless athletes, if you're looking back at the sports perspective, this is, once again, sadly, one of many instances where production outweighs the problems, outweighs the antics. And we see this front and center blatantly with only a 25 game suspension. It's not good enough. 25 games is basically a slap on the wrist for Ja Morant. He'll sit it out. Who knows? There's a good chance he might get in trouble during the 25 game suspension. And we're back to square one once again of him apologizing. I think even his last apology, I think people kind of called him out for using AI to write his apology for that. And now we are back at the same situation again, where he supposedly writes his apology, gets in trouble, punishment, and the vicious cycle continues. And that's the sad part, is that he honestly needs help. We can all agree with that. That's the obvious, blatant thing, is that he needs help. And no one's actually helping him. His parents seem like they don't really care to help him. It seems like they kind of feed into this as well. The team does nothing to actually help him. To really get him guidance, or older player to really help him, for someone to take him under his wing and try and turn his life around. The league doesn't really show that they really care about helping Ja Morant. And it's unfortunate that they're all basically using him. His parents, the team, and the league are all using him. And what's the cost? The cost of him ruining his life, ruining his NBA career. That's the sad part about this, is that it's not just solely Ja Morant. It's the people it's not the actions. It's the people around him that allow him to do this, that allow him to keep continuing with this, because they don't actually want to solve the problem. And that's obvious. I think a lot of us can see that, but it goes back to what I said, especially for professional athletes. So long as you're good at your job, teams, players, people, coaches, etc. will turn a blind eye to it and will allow you to keep doing it so long as you are keeping up with your production. And so far, Ja Morant is still one of the best players in the NBA, especially for young players in the NBA, only being 23 years old. If we go back here, I think he is 23. 24, I should say. Sorry. 24 years old. Still young in his career and in life. And people are still feeding into this because they don't want to lose the money. They don't want to lose what he brings to the table for the team and for the league, and especially for his parents, what he does for them. Money. And that's like, once again, it's a sad reality because I honestly don't think he is a bad person. I just think he's being misguided and trying to believe that he has to act a certain way. He has to put on a certain persona, a certain character to gain respect from really nobody. In the grand scheme of things, nobody on the internet. That's not going to help him. When things fall apart, those people are not going to be there to help him. They're not going to be the ones that are going to be flipping the bill if for fines or so forth. Not going to be the ones that are going to take the fall for him. They're feeding into a delusional character that he wants to put on, and they won't be there for when it falls apart. That's the sad part of it, is that he's trying to put on a persona for people that don't care about him. And that's to really sum up this whole thing, is that he is surrounded by people that truly don't care about what happens to him and are taking advantage of him. And I'm going to keep saying over and over and over again, what the team has shown or has not done, and also what the league has not done, what really needs to be done for Ja Morant. That's the tragedy in this one. That's the unfortunate part in this whole situation for Ja Morant. If they actually cared about him, you would give him almost the entire season, or make him go talk to somebody, or really have him take a long break, over how long, if that's not even a full season, but majority of the season, more than half the season, something to make him sit down and actually think about the choices he is making. Actually give him guidance, actually help him get better, because I really do believe he can turn his life around and go back to the Ja Morant that we believed he was coming out of the draft. The great kid, even pictures of him growing up seemed like he was in a great life. Doesn't look like he was in like the hood or anything like that. He grew up great in a great environment. He can get back to that, I truly believe. It's just he's getting misguided, and sadly the people around him that should be helping him the most are taking advantage of what he can do for them, as opposed to what they should be doing for him. That's a sad part of it. And it just goes back to what I said in the beginning. In order for the parents, the team, the league to actually help him, they have to put him first over their needs from him. And for right now, I don't see that changing. Sadly, I think it's going to keep continuing. It's going to go down a dark path where we're going to just keep going over and over and over again. And hopefully it doesn't lead to something much worse than what has happened right now. But I'm going to leave it at that. I want to give my quick thoughts on the Ja Morant situation. Once again, I know I'm a couple days too late with the discussion, but I just want to make my quick thoughts on the Ja Morant situation and how I feel about it. I think overall, to sum it up with one word, it's sad. Honestly, that's what it is. But let me know your thoughts down below on the Ja Morant situation. If you agree with the suspension for 25 games, you think it's perfect. If you think it's too short, too long, and if you do disagree with it, what do you think the length should have been? With that being said, thank you for watching. I'll see you next one.